Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. 2020 is over and here I am with the December wrap up almost 2 weeks late. I have around 10 books that I have read in December. For the books that I have reviewed already, I will leave those links in the description below. Towards the end of December, I had been reading more of graphic novels and comics. I am a mood reader and this reading graphic novel phase continued for few more books. So, the first book I have is the first volume of Fangirl manga. I wouldn't say Fangirl by Rowell is my favorite book, but like most people, I enjoyed the book and really liked the plot and characters. When this manga got released, the main reason for me to pick this book was to be able to see the characters that I liked in action. But throughout the book, Kath gave me depression. The original Kath was likable, and this one was not. I just couldn't wait to finish this book because I did not care for anything. The illustrations were good and there were few Baz and Simon illustrations in between, which was a plus, I guess. Just did not feel right or do justice to the original book. So that was a meh for me. After feeling terrible about Fangirl, I wanted to read a good graphic novel and I picked Awakening, Volume 1 in Monstress series by Marjorie. So, this is a story about a girl who survived a war and has some psychic link to a monster. So, she goes in search of the people who were responsible for the war and death of a lot of people and seeks revenge. I kind of liked this and probably will continue reading the entire series. The illustrations were amazing and the switching between the different timelines were differentiated well. I would suggest this for any adult who is interested in graphic novels. Next, I listened to the audiobook of Stamped Racism, Anti Racism, and You, written by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. The reason I picked audiobook is Jason Reynolds' narration. It's just pure perfection. This is a history book, but not the kind of history book that we study in schools. The book highlights how the thoughts and actions of certain people played major role in the slavery, suppression, genocide, and inequality of black people that can be seen till date. So yeah, this is not history book, but still records history in the most critical ways with proofs and citations. This is something everybody should read, even though we might not be directly affected or related to any of the people who are not white. So I highly recommend it. The next I have is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. So The Guest List is an amazing slow burn mystery thriller that I liked a lot. A group of friends and family gather in an island for a wedding, and among friends and family, there are many whose life has been affected by one person in the wedding. In fact, one of the wedding couples. They all get their revenge at the end. This is like Murder on the Orient Express with a tinge of And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Many might not like or feel comfortable with this book because of the slowness in pace, cruel characters, and trigger warnings, but I kind of enjoyed reading this. So, the next book I have is Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. This is the story about an African babysitter who gets accused of kidnapping the baby and how two other people in her life try to use this incident for their advantage. It was an okay book for me because the writing was not so good and the characters were not at their best. There was so much hype for this book, but this was simply not for me. Next, I have is something that I don't normally read. So, Love Me Whole by Nicky James. Though I read a lot of romantic novels, I don't review them much because those are just light reads to lighten up my mood that I never take seriously. But I heard amazing things about this book from Goodreads followers and gave it a try. This is an romance story between Oren and Vaughn, who meet during one of their lectures in college. So before you think of it Let me clarify that this is not a college romance story. So they both go for evening college. So Oren has dissociated identity disorder, which was previously known as multiple personality disorder. So he has social anxiety and shares his life with five different alters. So one who got bored of working simply decided to go to college. So the story is about how Vaughn falls in love with Oren, thereby loving his alters as well. This book just gave a new perspective of love, and I kind of liked that the most. I struggle handling one person in my life, so I cannot imagine how tough it would have been to handle six. So the book had its flaws, but still it was totally worth it. I have never read a book with a character having DID, and my knowledge on the subject was limited to whatever Night Shyamalan showed in the movie Glass. So this was an interesting read, and for diverse readers, I would highly recommend this. Next, I have is Dear Justice by Nick Stone. This is a sequel to Dear Martin. This is a story about one of the victims mentioned in Dear Martin and how they struggle to get justice. So the victim is imprisoned and charged for murder, and Justice finds a way to help him. I loved everything about this book, starting from what made Nick write this book in first place to telling about the hardest thing of all about the story. Can't wrap my head around what the MC went through, but I also know that it is far less from the reality many face. At least in this story, he got a chance at life. If you are reading this, read the book end to end. So, next book I have is Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kann. This is the first book that I have read with asexual main character, and I was super excited with all the hype. Alice is recovering from her breakup with her girlfriend, and when she meets Takumi, she feels instant attraction. Being bisexual and asexual, she struggles a lot to understand what she exactly feels, and how she proceeds with Takumi is the rest of the story. The book was good and conveyed probably what was intended, but the characters were too superficial, and relationships were not taken seriously. I did not like that. So this was an average read for me. Did not work for me, guys. Next I have is Surrender Your Sons by Adam Sass. This is the story about Kana who gets forcibly sent to conversion camp by his mother. He discovers a huge scandal, and after going through some misery, he escapes the camp. The book is dark and brutal, so expect everything that you can think of against being not straight. The few days in that conversion camp was terrible enough to lose my sleep for several days. But that's also a drawback because it's hard to believe that the entire course of events happened in just 2 days. The ending was okay though, but not enough. This was comparatively a really good book, but not well executed. Finally. The last and final book I have is Anxious People by Frederick Backman. So, if you are a fan of Frederick Backman, I know that you will love this book already. Here, a robber tries to rob a bank, which was terribly flawed, and while running away by mistake, takes a bunch of people hostage. The hostages are random people gathered for an apartment viewing, and each have their own story to tell, and somehow everything gets linked to an incident that happened 10 years ago. This was an amazing book that I absolutely loved. It is sad that this book lost the Goodreads Choice Award in Best Fiction by just 5 votes, and I feel terrible about it because this could have been a suitable winner. So that's the end of my December wrap up. My December vacation got my work piled up and delayed my wrap up video. I wish you all a very happy, prosperous new year. I hope this year will bring me a lot of amazing books to read and maybe let me read more books than last year. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Keep reading books. Until the next video, this is Darshini signing off.